chit chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Rhino's got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
It's one of those guys where he just thinks that what he's saying is so awesome. And it's so lame.
Kind of. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday here on the King's Court. Hope you're having a good one. Kings Summer League action coming up in about an hour and a half. Summer League is kicked off. Got games going right now. Kings will be next on the court in Cox Pavilion. I believe they're in Cox today. They're in the auxiliary gym today, playing the Orlando Magic. Some familiar faces, a familiar face that we will talk about. But anyways, it's kind of the slow season, so I figured we would have some fun today. I found a old rant that just made me really miss the rivalries in the NBA because I don't think we have them like we used to have them. I think you'll get fired up when you hear the rant too. It kind of toes the edge. I'm curious to see if anybody's heard this one, but it's a legendary one. It dates back to 2014. So I can carry the show for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I want you to call. So please, call the show.
Pop one off. There you go. Pop it off. Don't think, just go.
Here we go.
Do it.
Just do it. Do a desk pop. Pick up the phone. You can scan the QR code. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can click the links that are located at the top of the chat as well. So hope you're doing well. As I said, Grant, tonight, 8 o'clock. Sorry about last night. That was on me. That was not on Napes. Napes took the day off, and I did not see it. So I will take the fall for that one, but I can guarantee he will be here tonight. So join him. We'll kind of butt in, butt out of the Kings coverage. I wouldn't expect a ton day one. I do want to see what the starting five is going to be. That's going to be interesting. So Grant tonight, as I said, Mac is on the line. We'll get to him in a second. Jerry Reynolds on Tuesday. I asked him a question about the Thunder. Looks like our question has been answered. Check out the question that I asked him Thursday, and I'll tell you why it matters today. Last question, then we'll give Andrew the last final question. You can only keep one, Holmgren or Jalen Williams. Who are you keeping if you're OKC?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. Now, see, this guy knows basketball. That's a tough one. It would be awful tough for me to give up. You know, I think I would keep Williams. And the reason I say that, Holmgren is so hard to replace. And, you know, in general, 20, 30 years ago, you'd have done it the other way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in today's open court game, Williams, to me, is really on the verge of being a top 15 player in the league. And Holmgren may be that, and he's unique. But, you know, I mean, to me, it'd be almost like, you know, giving up Scottie Pippen when you're the Bulls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
hard
because I still think I really do think he's their second best player. But now Holmgren is so unique, and they don't win a championship without Holmgren, and I don't know they could replace him either. But I don't think they can replace Williams. So anyway, idea. If I'm Sam Presti, I don't do either. So that would be
you go.
But
There you
that's a great question, and like I say, I think 30 years ago that would have been absolutely for sure. You keep the big, and you will get a wing. Maybe we can get a star wing later. But I think it's almost now the way the game's played, boy, if you don't have some star wings that can break people down, you just can't compete.
So that was Jerry on Tuesday. It is not a worry. We talked about Chet Holmgren's extension, Jalen Williams. It's a 5-year, $287 million contract with the Thunder. It's interesting what the Thunder are doing with the back end of some of their contracts. So we'll explain that. And also, there's a good article in The Athletic talking about Jabari Smith Jr.'s contract and how it's kind of shifting and showing some changes in the way that guys are being paid in the NBA. Also, did you catch Giannis's little thing? We'll play that as well, but let's get to the phones. I ask, he answers. My man, Mac, what's up today, buddy?
Not much. How about you?
Another good Thursday above ground. Can't complain, buddy.
Absolutely. Did you hear what James Ham had to say yesterday when he said that he believes that the Sacramento Kings are done with free agency?
I did not. No.
Do you believe that might be true, that they believe that this is kind of their team with the rookies that they have, that they're going to plug them in and whatnot? Do you believe that might be accurate?
To a degree. You got to remember the key words: free agency. You can still, maneuver. You can still make some trades. Inevitably, there's going to be a handful of guys that go down during the summer, whether it's summer league. I mean, look at Jaren Jackson Jr. He signs his big deal, and then he comes down with a toe issue where he has to have surgery. So unfortunately, those things happen, and teams are going to need to fill in guys. So in terms of free agency, yes, I think they're probably done. I would agree, but I don't think this is what they ride into October.
If that is the case, I will be super disappointed, because this team again is in purgatory. They're not good enough to make the playoffs. They might make a play-in game and get stomped out, but then they're not good enough. They're too good to get a franchise player. So they can find a Keegan Murray, and Keegan Murray is a quality player. I'm not trying to put him down, but Keegan Murray doesn't change your franchise. And it's just so frustrating. You could even argue they got a little bit worse when they lost Valanciunas. But it's if this is the team that they go into, and this is why I was saying they should go after Ja Morant, because they're so stuck with the LaVine contract that they might as well try to compete for 2 years. They could have just gone. That's what I meant. They could have tried to go all in, because that's what I was. Remember when I was saying maybe go get Ja Morant, go get somebody, because you couldn't really tank with the contracts, right? You couldn't you can't move LaVine. DeRozan seems hard to move now. And that's why I think I'm so disappointed in the offseason is it's just another 2 years. You're back in purgatory, and it doesn't move you forward. And does that make sense? It's almost worse than losing every game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. It basically stalls you out. And then what are you rooting for? That you're rooting for them to lose, it becomes kind of weird at that point. But they're too good to lose, if that makes sense. They're too good to be to be a lottery team. I think they're going to win 38 games, 39 games, right? That's still below 500. But there's going to be teams that are going to be ahead of them and get better draft picks, is my point. So they'll have a 2% chance at the number 1 draft pick, and they'll pick 13th or 10th, get a quality player, but they need a franchise player. And that's my point. No, I hear your point loud and clear. Now, 38, 39, 40 games, maybe 500. Man, that would be nuts, actually, if they hit 500. That's all assuming that Zach LaVine stays healthy. That's assuming that DeMar DeRozan, who's a year older, stays healthy and is playing the same. Malik Monk has finished the season last 2 seasons from the bench because he wasn't healthy. So it could swing the other way too. You just don't know. I mean, yeah, would it be great to have a lottery pick next year? Sure. But unfortunately, yeah, you're kind of stuck.
And that's why I was pushing so hard in May and June to just swing for the fence, because remember I said I feel like they have a window. It's barely open, but it's a window that can't be shut, if that makes sense.
Well, okay. So I got the numbers up right now. Swing for the fence right now. I guess you can make the argument because you had, and this is assumingly that you didn't trade Valanciunas, you've got your backup center, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got decisions to make with Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, you picked up the option. I guess with what I'm looking at here, even if you swing for the fences with Ja Morant, where's that realistically going to get the Kings?
Well, it buys you a year of maybe some competency, maybe gets you into, because I believe if you get into the playoffs, and I think that this is something we've seen recently, anything weird can happen. I mean, look at Dallas when they went to the finals. And that's kind of what I'm saying. As long as they could avoid a play-in and they could get in a top 6 seed, that's what I think they should have aimed for. That's just me. I don't know. It's very frustrating because now I'm looking at this team and I look at when we think rebuild, and when you rebuild, you want to get draft picks, of course. And the only people that I think are worth anything that could give you a good draft pick are probably Keegan Murray. I think he could get you in first rounder, but is Monk worth a first rounder or a high second, or is he a borderline? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, you can't sell this team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And you're really actually giving up. If you listen to what the Summer League coach had to say and you assume that Doug's going to do, what's up, cutie? Which little boy or little girl?
My son. That's my boy.
Nice. What's up, dude? Wait, how old is he right now?
He is, let's see, his birthday's in September. We're over 12 months, so the math, you have to do subtraction and stuff now.
Okay.
So but his birthday's in September, so I think 20 months?
Okay.
No, 22, right?
So he's calling into, you can say his first call in was 22 months. There you go.
Well, it's supposed to be nap time, so that's why I'm in here early. I've got the Disney lullabies on the YouTube right now, and he's in my arms, so
I love it, man.
That's why I came in early.
I love it. You got your priorities straight, brother. I love it. Yeah, I get your frustration, but I just don't think you can give up some of the pieces that may be building blocks. Not saying they're stars, but solid blocks for what could be the future here in Sacramento.
I guess what it comes down to, and here's my conclusion, is I hate that they just were basically, you can look at it, it's a stagnant team. They just stayed stagnant, and I can expect this year to be probably what last year is, because the roster hasn't changed much, and it's just frustrating because, and I know that's not Scott Perry's fault. He didn't bring in Levine, and he didn't bring in those dead contracts, and that's why I was like, and I'll say, you could have just, maybe swing for the fences. I mean, because right now I'm trying to think, why should I pay a ticket to see this team? What's there to be excited about? And that's it. Anyway, take it easy. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mac. Be well. Can anybody make a better call than Mac, especially with a 22-month-old in his arms? Come on. I love it. Mac's been killing it lately on the phones. Look, do you give me a thumbs up if you want the optimistic view from me? Put a thumbs up in the chat. If you want me to go more down the Mac road, because I can do both. There's arguments on both sides. Put a thumbs down in the chat. Just let me know. You roll this team back out And I know that includes Zach LaVine, which is this weird piece. I just can't imagine them playing worse than they did last year. I can't imagine DeMar DeRozan having his toe on the line as many times as he did. I can't imagine Domantas Sabonis fouling out more times last season than in his entire career. I gotta think that gets a little bit better. Flores says thumbs up. So I'm not saying what you have right now. And again, fans is spot on. I said it. Max said it. It's early. Kings have not even tipped off their first Summer League game. Haven't even tipped it off. But I just can't imagine the IQ being as low as it was the second half of the season. So with that in mind, I got to think it gets a little bit better. I think they can play better. In fact, I guarantee they can play better than what you saw at the end of last season. The problem is the West has just gotten better and better and better. So even if the Kings play better, how much of a difference does that make with a loaded Houston team? With San Antonio on the rise? I mean, there's a huge argument to be made that the Kings really, could you rank them only above one team? I guess until you see Phoenix, even though I really like what Phoenix did in a very short amount of time, and then they re-up Devin Booker as well. There's an example of them keeping a star in the loop. That's a dude that's in his prime. And he has been a part of the moves or been consulted on the moves that they have made. And he's committing to them, knowing they are rebuilding, but they kind of shot. I thought they did great when it came to your mid-tier kind of role players. They got a couple of bigs, which you need now in the Western Conference. The Kings don't have a couple of bigs right now. You're hoping on Isaac Jones developing. What's Max going to do? He was a second-round pick after all. So I guess I'm being cautious here, but it's Utah, Phoenix, Sacramento, and I've got to put Portland above the Kings right now. I have to. With the way that they've done their rebuild, Drew Holiday coming in, Portland's only going to get better. They played well at the end of last year, really well. That's where you're at. Now, as for swinging for the fences, realistically, that's not going to happen with free agents. You know that. It's the story of Sacramento. It's not a big free agent destination unless you're rolling like the Kings were back in the heyday. And it was a fun place to play. The atmosphere was incredible. Visiting teams feared coming into Arco Arena. In that case, then agents are like, yeah, get me to that team. That looks fun. They love playing together. We can see it through the TV. We can feel it when we're on the court with them. Not necessarily the situation here. So with that in mind, I can also say this. Scott Perry getting up and saying Dennis Schroeder was the Kings' #1 target in free agency? I mean, does that mean he's the #1 target if you are looking at it through the same lenses that I just explained, knowing guys don't want to come to Sacramento? But if Dennis Schroeder is your #1 target in free agency, it tells me the bar's pretty low. Do you think any other team in the NBA had Dennis Schroeder as the #1 guy at the top of their board in free agency? Even at the point guard position, do you think, assume every team in the NBA needed a point guard? Do you think any other team had Dennis Schroeder at the top of that board? I don't. So we got to let it play out. But this goes back to Vivek Ranadive. This goes back to wrapping De'Aaron Fox up in a beautiful box. You know, like when you go shopping, or back in the day when you'd go shopping at Nordstrom's and they would do the gift wrapping for you. And you'd even pay extra if you wanted like the bigger bow, and it's like the nicest wrap present that you've ever seen. That's how Vivek Ranadive packaged up De'Aaron Fox and sent him to San Antonio. I said it yesterday. The Kings basically did what the Mavs did with Luka, except it was public. It wasn't under the table and quiet and in the middle of the night. The Kings weren't talking to any other teams. And I can say with almost complete certainty, if you look at Monty McNair's work, you look at what his style was while here in Sacramento. I think if you're going to knock Monty for anything, you've got to knock him for the swings that he didn't take. I think that is the biggest knock. But it completely goes against everything that Monty had in terms of GM morals, in terms of boundaries. Don't have a bad contract on the books. Don't be pot committed one way or the other. The owner's obsession with Zach LaVine goes back years. So that was not a Monty move. By the time, in that Valanciunas deal, by the way, that was put together for a minute. That was sitting, and that was definitely a Monty thing. That was a good, prudent move. But the Fox thing, that was Vivek on a cell phone with maybe Jeremy Lamb. Maybe it's a three-way FaceTime call between Jeremy Lamb, Angeli, and Vivek, even though they're in the same house. Okay, what do you? Yeah, I think we should do it. I mean, we want the fans to be happy with us too, right? You know, De'Aaron Fox, he does all this good stuff in the community and yada, 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 with no regard for his franchise. Like, to me, that is the kick in the package. That's why you are where you're at right now. What Mac's saying, you're in basketball purgatory. So I can't blame Scott Perry. In fact, I like it. I like that Scott got back into the draft. He turned what likely would have been 2 second-round picks, even though right now it's classified as a first. You know the Spurs in a couple of years are going to be in the playoffs. So he turns that into a first. He grabs Nick Clifford at what position? I'm not quite sure. And I don't think the Kings are sure either. So you needed a body, somebody that's played 4 or 5 years in college. I like it. Max, that pickup, I like it. But they're heavily depending on these guys to step onto the court right now. They've got literally the microscope focused in on Devin Carter to see what he's going to be able to do at the backup point guard position, because maybe that opens up more doors to a trade as well. If he doesn't play well, then you better start looking at what it's going to be. Is it going to be by committee? So anyways, everything's got to break right for the Kings to be near the play-in, would be my guess this year. But I understand the frustration. Athena, what's up? You always sound like you're complaining about everything, or every time I click and I can't even take 30 seconds of it. Relax. Be happy. If you want to be welcome in people's lives. Sorry, not sorry. Breathe. Athena, I gave the optimistic side first. I'm passionate. I love what I do. I'm sorry. It's not supposed to come off as negative. I like to think it's closer to the truth. Look, I'm not going to be like every other station in this city that's going to hit you with all this sugar when there needs to be some salt too. I mean, it's just the way it is. I am a happy guy. I am an optimistic guy. That's what I literally started with that, Athena. And I was responding to Mac's call, who was disappointed that the Kings did not take a swing. But I appreciate the feedback. We always do here on the channel. When you start rebuilding in 2 years, Mono won't be on the team. So I guess who cares if they got Kuminga and failed? At least they tried something. Well, Mac, again, I think you just have to be real. You have to be realistic about what you can do right now. You know, the Kings, best case scenario, the Kings are in the play-in. Worst case scenario, they're in the bottom tier of the Western Conference. So maybe you are a little bit less out of that purgatory range that we were talking about, that you were talking about. I think at this point, Mac, what you don't want to do, because you have Keegan Murray coming up, you have Keon Ellis coming up, I think you don't want to do anything that's going to dig this hole any deeper. That would be my thought. Maybe Kuminga fills the hole in a little bit. I don't know. But this team, in order to kind of get back on track, it's going to be through the draft or it's going to be through trade. Most likely from the draft. Number one target. Why say that, Perry? Yeah, that was interesting that he did say number one target. And maybe at the position. That was interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dennis knows that he's wanted by making 44 point whatever million it is over the 3 years. Third year, not fully guaranteed. Flores, the Kings made the risky trade of Richmond for Weber. Yeah, you do have to take risks. We talked about it yesterday. Every time this franchise has gone into one of those good spots, they've taken risks. Heck, think about even taking on Ron Artest. That's one you don't mention too often. That was a risk. The Kings took it. It helped for those couple years, and then things faded. But you can, Weber, you can go down the line. Trading Jason Williams was a risk. You get Mike Bibby in return. I thought we had McLaughlin. Did the Spurs get him in the Fox trade too? Now, McLaughlin just, he was never supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be kind of part of that third group where in case of emergency, pull the lever. I liked his hustle. He just had a hard time staying on his feet. He was constantly on the ground. Constantly. But he helped out. He gave the Kings, he probably helped the Kings to one victory last year. I would say that. Spurs point guard Jordan McLaughlin got a new one-year contract. De'Aaron Fox is still waiting. That is going to be something that is going to continue simmering and simmering and simmering. I was talking with somebody that covers the NBA on a national level. And I'm like, I straight up asked, I said, why is this not being talked about? And the only word that I was able to get was, or two words, complete uncertainty. And so I kind of started trying to dissect that. Complete uncertainty. Okay, what's that mean? Does that mean, do they think Giannis still might leave Milwaukee? In fact, by the way, I've got audio of that. Giannis was on a podcast, and if you've been following the situation for about the last year, up until last trade deadline, Milwaukee has been including Giannis in front office decisions, running things by him, more or less getting his sign-off on transactions because they want him to stay. They want to take another run at it. Chris Middleton, who was one of his best friends on the team, Giannis signed off on the trade to Toronto, I believe. So all this summer, many of these moves that they've made, and they've made some decent moves, I'll give them credit for that. They end up getting Miles Turner, big contract for Miles Turner. Giannis has been in on because the Bucks have wanted to have an exact beat on what they're dealing with him. Because if he's not going to stay. He's giving you that inclination. This is usually when those guys get traded. You don't usually see those guys get traded at trade deadlines. So fast forward to the Dame Lillard, the stretch of his contract and release. Giannis kind of played coy on it. Giannis or somebody around Giannis put out reports that Giannis was not happy about it. Even though we, Frank Isola as well, were able to debunk that and find out that Giannis certainly had signed off on that. Damian Lillard clapped back a little bit with a tweet with a snake. You get the thing. So Giannis was on a podcast recently, and he was straight up asked, "You staying in Milwaukee?" Here's his answer.
So you staying in Milwaukee? Probably. We'll see. See. Probably. I love Milwaukee.
Was that a little bit weird, or is it just me? We play that one more time.
So you staying in Milwaukee? Probably. We'll see.
And Giannis is like looking around.
See.
He's going like
Probably.
this.
I love Milwaukee.
I can tell you this. If Giannis sat down at a poker table with me, I would make a lot of money, I think. I mean, you know what it kind of reminded me of? Because you've got to watch the clip as well. It reminded me of Austin Powers. When it's like, it's getting awkward.
All right, it's getting
in
crowded
here.
in here. Everyone out. Everyone out. Come on. Not you, Scotty.
Yeah,
Not you, number two. Not you,
like
Frap.
Milwaukee.
Not you, Gold member. Not you guys back there. Not you, henchman
Probably.
holding wrench. Not you, henchman arbitrarily turning knobs, making it seem like you're doing something.
Oh, it's awkward. Oh my gosh.
This is uncomfortable.
I wouldn't have been mad if they tried getting Kuminga and maybe rolling the look. They still can. They absolutely still can. That would be a sign and trade. Guys and gals, we are just past where we were at last year when DeMar DeRozan came to SAC. So you've still got the Kuminga shoe to drop. There's a few other ones as well. And again, Summer League, that's going to change some things. Teams are going to see some high draft picks that play really well. And they're going to be like, all right, I think that you can go with them instead of this other person because of this CBA, because of the aprons. So speaking of Summer League, we're going to keep getting to your comments. Kings get their first taste of Summer League today. Super fired up for it. They're playing the Orlando Magic at 4:30. They'll be tipping off after this Chicago and Indiana game that is on NBA TV. And they're going to see a familiar face. He was a late signing to Orlando. Remember this group?
Oh, we out.
So, here's what's interesting about this matchup today. You've got 4 of the Stockton Kings who won last year's championship playing today. And look who's on the other side of this court. One of the oldest guys at Summer League. Give him a hand. Skal Labissiere. I'm not sure if he's going to play tonight or not, but that's going to be really interesting to see if they get in the lineup together, or at least on the floor all together at some point. Isaac Jones talked to the media yesterday. We'll hear from him. Coach Mistry also talked to the media. We'll hear from him. But Tristan Da Silva, the other guy right there next to Skal, he was somebody the Kings were fairly high on last year. in the draft. A guy that was out of Colorado, plug and play wing that can also defend. And yeah, so he's going to get a run today. My guess would be only a couple of games since he's a second-year guy and he played very well for Orlando last year. Also going to be your first taste of likely Nick Clifford and Max Reynaud. So we'll be tuning in, keeping an eye on that. BJ is actually at Summer League. I think he's headed to that game. And then tonight, the featured game at Summer League is Cooper Flagg, the number 1 pick, versus, drum roll, Bronny James and the Lakers. So here was Isaac Jones. Or actually, let's go to Coach Mistry first after practice yesterday, after they ended mini camp for Summer League.
I guess older, all everything considered guys in this moment also be coaches on the floor, like Isaac been here before. Yes, and then they won a championship together too. Mason, IJ, IC, and Devin was part of that season too. He played a few games over there, and they have that built up chemistry, and that's why that unit's together. And when they all play together, it's going to be good. And with Isaac specifically, he spent a lot of time with him last year. He said he's working on his shooting a lot. Where do you see the growth there and sort of off the court as well? Yeah, I know we talked a lot about it, and we can we develop his corner 3? And so we've been working on it all summer, and it looks great, And I'm just like, in order for you to show off your corner 3, you got to run to the corner, So he just wants to run to the rim.
How ironic is that? How ironic is that? Did we have that conversation yesterday on this show about getting to the corners? It looks like the Kings are still going to do that. What was the other conversation that we had on the show? It was about, can IJ develop a 3-point shot? Can he develop a mid-range shot? Looks like it's something he has been working on. I have not listened to this. It's the first time I'm hearing it. That's great. I love that.
He's got some habits on that, so we're trying to fix that as well, and that just takes some reps.
You said that you've been his development coach, so you've been working with him a lot in the offseason.
Yes. What's it been like having Dylan here? Just his personality and his drive, and what have you been impressed about by him? Yeah, Dylan's enthusiasm, just like you can feel it right when you're on the court. He makes everyone smile. But then on the court, he's a bruiser, man. Like, you could feel him, and that's what I like. I will make them feel us, make them uncomfortable. And when you get in the paint, he's going to let you know. And that's what I like about him right now. He really protects the rim.
What's your message to the team heading into Orlando tomorrow?
Just stick to our identity. Like right now, at the beginning of the camp, I told them it was like 20% of our identity. We were playing every possession, and then we increased it to 50. And then last night, and then today, I thought we got to like 70. And then the game 1, hopefully it's 80, and we get to our identity, and we're going to play well.
Coach is losing his voice.
What do you think about that dress rehearsal?
Love it.
You can't do everything all at once and stuff. What are you just trying to make them understand?
Part of it is also getting it on film, so we can go back and correct for tomorrow, and then also just understanding that it's going to be hard tomorrow. It's going to be faster. Might be louder. The communication's got to go up. The compete level's got to go up. So all the nerves and all of that, I want to iron all that out right now. We can take a look at the tape and then come back tomorrow, watch some film, and then hopefully get ready for first game.
You've kind of had to microwave team chemistry, if you will, over the past couple of days. What's the key to kind of getting on track? And you're almost never ready going into with such short amount of time, but how have you guys been able to handle that?
Yeah, you're never really ready, but it's just being together a lot. And we've tried to do that with our team drills, and just stressing communication. We had the team dinner at the beginning of the camp, like I said earlier. That really did help. And hopefully every game we go on, we just become more tighter and more connected.
I've never been looking, running that point.
Really good. Yeah. We're working on just the timing of the plays, how he needs to put people in certain positions. We are picking up. Right. So when he's playing against pressure. So he gets that because that's our identity. So he gets to feel that. Now, I'm not sure if every team's going to pick up in Summer League. However, he's getting those reps right now in live playing. That's really good for him.
I love what I'm hearing. I like all those things. That's what I want to hear going into Summer League. It sounds like they're going to play a very, very similar style to what Stockton played and how Stockton won their G League championship. Pressure, pace, get into the corners. I think that's great because you've got a core on this team, this summer league team, that really knows how to play together. They know each other's spots. They can improvise together. The three that I'm looking at for sure is Mason. Well, two for sure, Mason and IJ. Those two got it down. Isaiah Crawford still kind of finding his footing per se, but the Kings see a lot of potential in him. The body's there. The development is what needs to start coming through. When Isaiah's on, he's smooth as silk. When he's off, it's a little bit frustrating to watch. Isaiah Stevens, he was a teammate of Neat Clifford at Colorado State. He went undrafted in 2024, but he was on the Miami Heat as a two-way player last year. I think he played in a handful of NBA games. My guess would be that they are under, and I've not heard this, I've not asked anybody this, but if Mason Jones is not a part of the Kings, he's probably going to be a part of another team. Mason will get a two-way deal somewhere else. So I think that would probably be the plan for Isaiah, backfilling Mason's role. I said it yesterday. I really think Mason Jones has a chance to have a chance. I think he has worked his way into that position. And when I mean work, like days after winning a championship, back in the gym early, doing yoga. I think he took like a week and a half off. And it's been work since then. So the way he's transformed his body, the way he's transformed his game, the leadership that he has been able to show, and taking the Stockton Kings, playing at a very high level to a G League championship. I mean, in many ways, Mace really raised the level of many of those guys' games down there last year. I was front and center for a lot of it. It was visible. That video we played earlier, Mace is telling them, no, we're not shaking hands with them. That was before game 3. You know why? Because it got chippy at the end of game 2 of the G League finals. This was the locker room when Stockton won. This is how much the team turned to Mace and who he was for them.
We won the game, but we made history. That's the biggest thing, man. That's the biggest thing. They call me Mike Dicker. Hey, hold on. Let me give y'all a reason. Hey, they call me Mike Dicker. Yes, sir. Because I push them hard every day. And some days they'll fight me back. Some days they'll be like, why you on me so hard? Because Tom's like this. And now, while I was on IC ass all year, he come through the last 2 games. I was on TT ass all year. He came through all year. I was on Jack's ass all year. That came through all year. And what are? We champs. Let's go home.
That's just a little taste of it. So I think Mace has played himself into getting a very good look, if nothing else, with the NBA here in Vegas in summer. But if the Kings, if he can show out, I think he does have a chance to be in training camp and a chance to be on the roster. And a lot of that's going to depend on Devin Carter's play. A lot of that's going to depend on Neek. Where does he fit best at? Who is the sharpshooter on this current roster? Man, that's a really good question. I'm going to have to say Mace to a degree. I don't know how much, and we heard Coach talk about IJ's development with the 3-ball, still being a little bit of a work in progress, likes the corners. But Mace is up there. I don't know what to expect with Neek. I don't know what to expect with Max. John Elmore, who's also one of the older guys, 29, who's earned this opportunity to be on this summer league team. I don't know how much he will play, but he can shoot the 3 ball. I know there's some high expectations for Dylan Caldwell as well. He's already on a 2-way deal. Auburn guy, played high level in the SEC. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch and see. To be honest with you, we're gonna, especially with the style. I don't know that you're gonna have one guy, and maybe it even turns into a little bit of Devin too. When Devin was playing down in Stockton, he was scoring a lot of points, even though that's not why they asked him to go down. They asked him to go down so he could learn how to run a team. So we'll see as it develops. Again, the Kings have 4 games scheduled, 4 games that are scheduled. They should be, I want to reinforce this, they should be playing into the latter stages of Summer League. They have a roster that's probably played more games together than many others, significant basketball together, which I am including the G League in that, because you've got a decent amount of G League guys that are part of Summer League. I think the Kings easily should be, I'm not going to say easily into the championship, but I think the Kings, it would be a disappointment. I mean this. So was it Athena or Progressive that got frustrated with me? Because my tone's always negative. I mean this. I will be disappointed if this Kings Summer League team does not get to the semifinals. I think that they can do that. They have enough experience together. So we'll see how coach gets them to play. A guy that we've been talking about a lot, IJ, here was him after practice yesterday.
You kind of have to microwave team chemistry, but what's that been like over these past few days and getting ready for Vegas now?
A lot of fun. You see we out there competing, but it's easy to mesh with these guys, a good group of guys. Everybody's friendly and just great teammates overall.
What do you think the biggest thing you worked on in the offseason was, and what do you want to showcase out in basketball?
Definitely shooting and defensive versatility. Got a long wingspan, got to use it. And if I could stretch the floor, it could extend my career. So.
You spend a lot of time here in the offseason?
Yeah, I didn't go nowhere else. Like I went home for 2 weeks, and then I was back here.
Got you. Just lock in on getting better, improving.
Just trying to get better, man. Trying to earn my spot.
If I had to guarantee 2 guys, and this is assuming Devin's still in Sacramento, Devin and Isaac would be the 2 that I guarantee. I would say those 2 will definitely, and when you say playing time, I'm using that like casually, like a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. They won't be, well, Devin might be a rotation player. I take that back. IJ is kind of the wild card, but of those 2, or of the group, it's those 2. And then I'm going to ride with Mace. I really am. I told the story. It was, I don't know, week and a half after they had won the championship. And I was flying to Dallas to go meet up with Adam. And it was like a 5 a.m. flight, and I'm in sweats. I happen to be in, so funny, little embarrassing, Stockton Kings sweats. And I got my head down. I'm chilling. So it's early. Like, you know, when it's like super early in the morning and it's an early flight and you're thinking, am I going to fall asleep on the flight or am I going to be up? And that decision gets made before you get on the flight, because you either get the cup of coffee or you don't. And so I opted not to get the cup of coffee because I knew it was going to be go time the second I got to Dallas with Adam. And so I'm kind of there dazing off, and Mace comes up and kind of shoves me from the back. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you getting on a flight to Dallas? What are you doing here?" Going to Dallas, going to hang out, having a couple weeks off, which I know he worked during those weeks too. But when we were walking out of the Dallas airport, we were talking, we were talking about Grant's son, who is a locker room attendant for the Kings. He's a equipment manager. And I forget what I said. I said something, and it was something about this summer. It was something about improving on something this summer. And he made the comment, well, yeah, we got this championship in Stockton, but now I'm only focused on bringing a championship to Sacramento. And so, like, I get, like, those are big words. I get that those are lofty goals, but that's where Mace's mind lives. In his work ethic, in his mental game along with it, that's where it's at. And so that's why I really think Mace, this will be the year for Mason Jones. If he has a chance in Sacramento, this is the year. So I would say he is the third that could see playing time. And trust me, I know how many guards we're looking at right now. But if you're thinking about the Kings possibly making a change, maybe going after Kuminga, we've heard Devin Carter's name tied to that. That would all depend on the development of Mace. That's going to depend on what's Neek's role going to be. Is he going to play a ton of one? I don't see Neek getting a ton of time at the 2 because of the backlog there. The majority of those minutes are going to go to Malik Monk and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. So this summer league, again, I've said it all this week, Devin Carter is under a microscope for a number of reasons. Devin Carter, in a way, is trying out for the Kings and maybe trying out for other organizations. Because his place to stick on this team is going to be being able to run this team. The ball handling's got to be there. And that's a big ask over one season. And if you remember yesterday, Devin said, I never played point guard in my life. And by the way, I didn't mention Keon Ellis at the 2 either, because Keon can kind of slide around. He can play some 3 as well. So that's why this summer league, it's huge. Huge. Not so much for what this season's going to look like in the Kings' expectations, but I think it's huge for what the Kings roster may morph into and if they make any other moves. You know, what if, let's assume Mason plays awesome this summer in Vegas. Let's assume Devin Carter plays awesome. Now you've got a choice to make. Mason probably, actually I can guarantee Mason trade value would not be anything near what Devin Carter's trade value would be because of where Devin Carter was drafted, where he is. He's so much younger in his journey compared to Mace. But if you think Devin's an asset and some teams see him this summer and they say, you know what, we really like that he was able to get better at that, but we don't really need him to do that. We need him to go be that Gary Payton Jr. that's just a pest. We don't need him to score, just be a pest. So Devin could be a part of a deal in a sense like that. So when I say stuff's riding on the summer, it's that kind of stuff. When we talk about who's going to be in that camp come the end of September, early October. Back to Isaac yesterday.
The change to Scott Perry, what's kind of your communication been like with him and what he's expected of you?
Just one, play to my strengths, which is rebounding, defending, and bring the energy, but continue to be who I am, don't change, and just buy into the system.
How has this camp maybe been different from maybe last year?
This one, I think we maybe played a little bit more. I feel like last year it was a lot more teaching. Dudes didn't pick up the offense as fast, but I think this one we played a lot more.
Yeah. For you with that contract, I mean, I heard that you're just playing like he doesn't even exist.
Yeah, have to.
Just tell me that mentality and why you taking that approach.
I definitely got to act like I don't have it because I know, especially dudes here, they're all hungry. You know, they would kill for my spot, so I want to keep my spot and continue getting better. So I just act like I don't have it.
In Vegas, how nice is it to know that you guys will be playing an opponent other than just yourselves or down the floor?
Oh, it's gonna be fun. You know, you never want to get too physical or hurt your opponents here, but over there, take the leash off and we just get to be dogs.
You almost get to be a vet for a little bit, even though it's only year 2.
Oh yeah. Definitely bully the rookies too. You know, they're getting everything I went through. They got to go through. You know, so I'm expecting like towels in my seat, all that.
Typical Rudy doing rookie duties.
Yeah.
During the off season,
It's funny how that changes, right? So funny how that changes. Is Mace good at anything besides morale and locker room? I'd say he's okay. Western Conference semifinals, 47 points, 5-9 from 3, 5-5 from the free throw line, 38 points in the Western Conference finals, averaged 23.3 points in the G League finals. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's good at that level. He is Jerry thinks he opened some eyes. Mace, the year before, not this past season, they won the championship, but the season before, he was not nearly the scorer that he's become. Now, again, the G League, different competition, a little bit lower level than the NBA, smaller guys, but Mace is crafty. He's super crafty, and for the most part, you might get 1 or 2 bad turnovers from him a game. From the most part, the composure's there, and he will run back down the court when he makes a mistake. He's not going to hang his head. I mean, I want to say this carefully and with all due respect. By the time the Kings got to the G League finals, it felt like Mace was being held together with duct tape because he was not, those things Foxy was not willing to do in the 46-win season. Some of those things that he was not willing to do last season, which is take a pounding, get to the hoop, get to the free throw line. Mace is willing to do all of that. And he's proven it at the G League level. So this is the next step. Progressive. What grade would I give the Kings offseason moves? Can I split it into 2, Progressive? I give the Kings draft before Max or Neek play a single minute by the King. By the way, the Kings tipping off here in about 30 minutes. The game that is going on right now before them, Cleveland 111, Indiana 107, 155 left in that game. There'll be about 10, 15 minutes for the guys to warm up, and then they'll roll into the Kings and the Magic. I give Scott Perry an A for the draft, an absolute A, before I see what Neek and Max turn into. To be able to get back into the first round, turn what was likely going to be 2 second-round picks into a first this year when you needed young talent and you needed bodies because you had limited financial resources, an A. As for free agency, we're still in it. There's still time to make moves. Teams' needs are going to change. I've got to give it a C, Progressive.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
Here's why I'm giving it a C. I know you pay the Sacramento premium for guys to come to Sacramento, but I don't know that I see what he sees and the organization sees in Dennis Schroeder. If Dennis Schroeder pans out, stays healthy, and it's that formula change that we talked about, it helps get players back into their natural positions, then that grade will change. But I've got to give it a C because this Kings team finally realized you needed a point guard.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
I just don't know if I like Dennis Schroeder at 3 years, 44 plus mil. And I know the third is partially guaranteed. But I don't know who was on the list. I don't know who wanted to come to SAC, who said, I'm not coming to SAC. So that's kind of and the ability to make a move with DeMar DeRozan. We're not quite there yet. Jerry gave it about 70% that he thought DeMar DeRozan would be on the Kings opening night roster. I put it at about 60%, but that will also kind of affect how I ultimately grade the offseason. So if you want me to merge the two together, an A and a C, that makes a B right now. So what would you all give as a grade for the offseason? One of the names that we have not heard a lot about that I think you should meet. He's a guy that's already signed to a 2-way deal. Big man, Dylan Cardwell from Auburn. He may play very well into the Kings' plans during this summer league run. Big dude. We've had his stats up. Played at Auburn. I don't have his career numbers in front of me, but he is a center. He's athletic. He had a chance to talk to the media yesterday before they took off for Vegas. Here was Dylan Cardwell's first comments here in Sacramento.
There's a practice in the books now. Now it's Vegas time. Just how are you and the squad feeling, with kind of microwaving team chemistry right now?
First and foremost, all glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is a great training camp. It's really exciting, but really tiring. And we have a great group of guys, but also a great group of coaches surrounding us. They're very, very detailed, very passionate about what they do, and I feel we're prepared going to Vegas.
Just how excited are you to place another opponent at this point instead of going at each other?
I was excited to play in general. The pre-draft process for me was grueling because, every team was every day was a different team. And so now I have my own team. I'm on a team again. I'm just really excited about being on the team. And so I don't care who we're playing. We can play the Harlem Globetrotters for all I care. I'm just happy to be on the Sacramento Kings.
What defense been telling you about what you need to do?
Just energy, man. Just keep being an energy guy. My role is energy, rebounding, and defense, toughness and physicality. I try to be the Ben Wallace of this team. And so I'm a big fan of Quincy Acey. Quincy Acey, Sacramento King legend in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? So I try to fill that role. That's my role. And then as far as my development goes, just obviously offensive scoring and free throws. So yeah.
What do you guys been preaching the most about playing defense?
Playing defense, they make them feel us. That's our slogan. It's MTFU, make them feel us. We want to be in the ball. We want to guard the ball 94 feet.
What are you really looking forward to most about Vegas Summer League, getting in these games?
Yeah, a chance to play AAU again. I heard it's like AAU. It's a small amount of warm-up time. Feel like a tournament feel. Everybody's on the sideline with their slides, ready to go hoop, and so I'm excited for that. And then see my teammates, Janai Broom and Miles Kelly, Tony Johnson, Denver Jones, Jalen Williams. I'm excited to see my guys again.
How has he been working with Devin Carter? It seems like he's
he's insane. He gets downhill really fast. He's pretty quick, and so that's a big jump for me as far as the college level to the NBA level is just the difference in the speed from the point guard position. He gets downhill really well.
What are you expecting from the speed of the game this week?
Oh man, pace. That was the wake up call this week. Coach Dick's done a great job of integrating it into the team. But when I was at Auburn, we were one of the slowest paces in the country because we were so good at offense. And here in the NBA, they're prioritizing getting up and down for more possessions. And so that's probably the biggest difference for me. That's how Vegas is going to be. Vegas is going to attract me, and so it's why he's in the best shape.
Just kind of like dress rehearsal.
Dylan Cardwell, my man. Dylan Cardwell. We have actually, I thought BJ might call. He is in he's in Vegas right now. Matt is on the line. Matt, what's going on today?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's been a while.
Yeah. Just wanted to thank you again for bringing me out to that Stockton game. That was just badass experience.
You're very welcome. It was a heck of an experience. Glad you had a good time. Saw a good game. You saw some of these guys that are going to be playing tonight. What were your thoughts being that close to Mason, being that close to IQ?
Yeah, I would say Mason. I could see him being a really good backup in the league for. I think in a matchup where. If the other team has a weak point guard in terms of, defense and offense, I think Mason could be a plus against them. I mean, I think the downside is his defense, right? So you can't really put him in, and his size. You can't really put him in against a bigger point guard, but I could see him excelling against a smaller guy in a matchup. Terry Taylor, yeah, I don't see him being an NBA guy, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back to the game, like, I think you told the story, but just from my perspective, like, I'll never forget this moment of that TT sequence. So basically what happened, Stockton's taking the ball, or Orlando was going against Stockton. It was a pretty hard foul by Stockton. And then one of the guys threw the ball at a Stockton player. Stockton player pushes the Orlando guy. Me and Ryan are sitting right next to the bench, and Terry Taylor gets up. He's about to go run onto the floor, and Ryan goes, TT. Really, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. He goes, TT, and grabs him. And the look on Terry's face, like, I'm going to remember this look on his face. It was almost like he was in a trance, and Ryan, like, pulled him out of this trance, and he kind of, like, woke up, and he had this deer in the headlights look on his face, and then he realized he had this epiphany where he's kind of like, oh, Ryan, you're right. I shouldn't go run onto the floor. And, I mean, Ryan, you honestly might have been a factor to the Stockton Kings winning. Like, if you hadn't done that, they might have lost the finals.
Yeah, he would have been suspended. Yeah, it was so funny. He gives me the look like, what are you doing? You're exactly right. And then he's like, oh my gosh. It's like, and he realized, like, I would have been gone. I would have been tossed.
I think that was your college ball instincts kicking in, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised my arm stopped him. I'm surprised my arm didn't fall off. But yeah, that was just the instincts. It's like, stay on the bench, my man. Stay on the bench. That's such a good story. I forgot about that.
And yeah, I think Dennis I think he's going to be an NBA guy. I would keep an eye on him with the Spurs. You said he's playing with them?
Yeah, he's with the Spurs this summer.
Yeah, he looks great.
You know what? He was a wild card to them getting that championship. He really flourished in the playoffs, especially the finals.
He kind of reminds me of, like, I could just see him just being a defensive specialist who could also, knock down a bucket if you need him to. What do you think about that kind of role?
Yeah, you know what? If he was bigger, he'd be a great 3-and-D guy. But I could see him as a defensive guy. I've said he's probably, and with a grain of salt, everybody take this. If there was going to be another Keon, I think he's the closest thing the Kings have had in the system to being in that same kind of role that could fill that same kind of gap.
Interesting. And then I just want to comment on Schroeder. Honestly, I was disappointed. I'm not totally down on him, but I really wanted to get Brogdon. I think we could have got him for cheaper. And I did a side-by-side comparison. He pretty much beats Schroeder in every stat. I mean, that was over their whole career. So I get that it's different, like, looking at kind of their more recent performance. Like, Brogdon kind of a down season last year, and Schroeder looked really good with Detroit. But I don't know. But then again, the optimism that I do have with Schroeder is seeing him win that championship with Germany in the World Cup a couple years ago. I mean, at least the guy he was really their leader of that team, and they took on some pretty good teams there. So just seeing that he's got that championship, that winning mentality in him is a little promising. But I would say, honestly, overall, I'm usually pretty, like, optimistic, maybe not rationally so, about the Kings season, but I kind of just having a hard time being that way for this season. I'm still going to be obviously following and rooting for them, but I'm kind of hoping that they kind of have a soft tank this season, just because, like, maybe just a season where we're gelling, we're getting some chemistry, playing the young guys and gaining that, but then at the same time getting a draft pick. But because there's no shot at the championship, and even coming out of the West is so tough right now. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Matt, because you got some decisions to make, especially with Keegan Murray. I think you legitimately have to give him a look. You have to this year, some way or another, whether DeMar's on the roster or not. And if it works, you know a little bit more of what you have. If you don't, then you have a draft pick. But the Kings can play decent basketball and still be at the bottom of the West because the West is just so nasty. I don't remember the last time the West was ever this nasty.
Yeah. And is it cool if I give you a minute bodybuilding breakdown since I'm the Kings Court bodybuilding guy?
Amen. It's all yours. Take us.
So the big names like C-Bum, Chris Bumstead, he announced that he was retiring, and then he kind of reversed that. And so he used to be a classic physique competitor, which is kind of like smaller, trying to look like those old school Arnold type of guys. Now he's announced that he's moving into the open division. So that's something to keep an eye on. He's been sizing up. Sam Sulek, the influencer, actually went pro. He got his IFBB pro card, so that's kind of interesting. That doesn't mean he's qualified for the Olympia yet, but he'll have to win some other smaller pro shows to qualify for that.
Is that dude natural?
No, I mean all these guys who are enhanced. Like Ronnie Coleman had such freaky genetics that he claimed that like his first few years of competing that he was natural, which I could see, but I think that's probably not true. I mean, all these guys are really enhanced. But another thing that's so last year there's this guy Nick Walker who was supposed to be, he was a competitor for the Mr. Olympia Open, but he ended up dropping out at the last minute, and he posted a video where he was like crying and he was saying he's going through some stuff, which you kind of feel sorry for the guy. But then at the same time, he was the biggest trash talker of anybody in the whole competition. So he ended up getting the nickname Nick Talker. So that I feel like that kind of has some parallels of WWE that might draw you in, because there's like a little bit of that kind of drama. I feel like they're kind of stepping that up a little bit. They realize that there needs to be a little bit of back and forth, but I don't want to talk too long about that.
Well, they're all on like social media and doing their own social stuff. So is that how they kind of keep it up?
Yeah, so like they don't get that much. Like really, the competition money is not great. Like it's like the winner. There's only one winner, and he gets about, I think they moved it up to like 600,000 now. I think last year was 400,000. So comparing that to NBA guys, that's like nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it's mostly with like supplement, brand deals, YouTube viewership, social media. They kind of just have to figure out all these different grinds, and the top guys end up being pretty wealthy, so
for sure, and pretty jacked too.
Yeah. And there's a new movie out called Magazine Dreams that's about a bodybuilder. It looks like kind of dark, and I actually might even watch it tonight. It just came out, so
all right, good look. Hey, you know what, our guy Dorian loves the segment CrossFit and bodybuilding.
Yeah, dude. And I remember Alex is always in the gym too. Alex, if you're listening, if you know bodybuilding, hit Ryan up, man. I'd like to hear from you, man. All right,
Sweet.
Ryan, nice talking to you, man.
Good talking to you too, Matt. We'll hit a game again next season, brother. Thanks for
Sounds
the stories.
Good.
All right.
See you, man.
Let up. Yeah, I don't recommend, if you are sitting near the bench, to do what I did. However, I think I had a little bit of leniency because TT and I are familiar. But that was wild. Like, there's these fake, like, I'm coming on the court. TT was on his way to the court. Like, it was funny. It was crazy. We are actually going to have a little treat right now. BJ is in the gym in Vegas. He's going to call the show right now from Vegas as the Kings get ready to warm up for their first Summer League game. It's going to be on NBA TV. It's going to kick off at 4:30. We'll wait BJ's call here in a second. Good stuff for Matt. It was fun going. Matt was the complete opposite of Dennis at a game. Matt was perfectly behaved, enjoyed the game, didn't just go after the other guys trying to tackle them. Yeah, I actually tried that. I said, yo, Gabe, can I get a ring? I deserve a ring. Yeah, I don't deserve a ring. And it was just reaction. Any of us would have done that. A lot of people liking the Quincy AC references. Oh, here we go.
My man is pretty loud, but honestly, every rookie that I've seen is very, very light in the piece. But mind-wise, I'm really curious about the Stanford kid. I'm glad to be so glad that you took my call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Hey, keep us updated via text on the stuff you don't see on TV.
For sure. What I'm going to do is watch this first quarter, see if maybe I can really run the profile situation, then go over to the Dallas to the main gym to see what the big hype is over there. So, a lot of people over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of faces over there that you recognize. All right, brother. Enjoy. Thanks for calling in.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Later. How about BJ calling in from the Vegas gym where the Kings are warming up? Yeah, I couldn't hear it. Yeah, I couldn't hear it, Tristan. And HH would have just made it louder. It was the music in the background. He was saying that he likes the way the rookies looked warming up. Really interested to see what Max is going to do. You know, Dorian, that is the weirdest thing to me. Who's running the investigation and what's going on with CrossFit? I was really close to digging into that. In fact, I am going to dig into that since it's the summertime. As we get to a little bit of once summer league's over, I want to dig into that because that was a big deal. Lazar should not have, well, I shouldn't say Lazar should not have passed away, but it didn't seem like there was sufficient, you want to call it help, supervision by CrossFit. And it's almost like you haven't heard anything from CrossFit. I think they were going to do their own individual investigation. That was bad. Yeah. For those that don't know what we're talking about, one of the CrossFit Games athletes, he was a Serbian athlete, last year in the first event, he appeared to have some type of emergency. BJ is now in the chat. He appeared to have some type of emergency in the water. And I don't want to assume what it was, but he was swimming fine. He was 40, 50 yards from the finish, and then he just dropped below. So very odd. And then the games continued. Some athletes did not want to participate. They allowed some to sit out for a day to mourn. And the CrossFit Games really didn't do a very good job of honoring him, in my opinion, as the games went along. So I do wonder where that stands. So as we get closer, I want to give you some nostalgia. It's for sale. They're pulling the Vince McMahon. CrossFit's for sale. And there are rumors that someone or the entity has already purchased it. I've been in CrossFit for 10 years, and it's slowly dying. I mean, Dorian, is it slowly dying, or is it just more people are ripping off the movements and incorporating them into different workouts in different ways? I mean, there was a part of CrossFit that was always kind of like Globo Gym, you know, like we're better than you and we know it because we're CrossFitters. But on the flip side of that, I tried CrossFit for maybe a month, one of the hardest things I've ever done by far. Like, not even close. One of the hardest things I've ever done. So I got respect for the workouts that they do. That's for sure. It is hard work, but they are kind of, they've got that Globo Gym feel.
Because here
they
at
do.
Globo Gym, we're better than you. And we know it.
So I want to take you back. So I mentioned at the top of the show, 2014, there were some really good rivalries. Tristan, they are actually better. Yeah, I hear you, brother. 2014, there were some really good rivalries going on in the NBA. And many of you would recognize Dan Le Batard because of his dad, Poppy. They used to do a show called Highly Questionable. What people don't know is Dan Le Batard was one of the first guys to break away from ESPN, to break away from radio back in, I think it was 2016, 2017. And see what the future of radio was starting to look like. He declined a massive offer from ESPN to start his own podcast network. And now it's up, it's running, tons of shows, great people, people that you hear on TV all the time, but still the same type of show that you used to do. But Dan used to be a little controversial on the radio. You remember the big Miami Heat and Indy rivalry that was going on? This is when the Heatles were together. Braun, Wade, Bosch. Listen to this rant from Dan Le Batard. This was Dan Le Batard's rant. It's a little edgy, but he did this on the radio. I don't think Le Batard's lame. This was on the radio. Check this out.
Whoa! Stugotz, I can't believe it! It's official! He did it for all the world to see! He confirmed it! It's a fact! It's not subjective! He cannot argue it! Lance Stevenson blows! Hoosier State! Hoosier State! I ask you once again! Who's your daddy?
It's a pretty good chance it's Paul George.
Ouch! Indiana! Out! Indiana! You have cities named French Lick and South Bend! We have strip clubs that offer the French Lick and the South Bend! Give it to me again! Give it to me again! Indiana, I'm so very sorry, but David is as close as you're gonna get to meeting the West!
That guy blocked me on Twitter.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Rashard Lewis is the Black Mike Miller! Go, Ed Malloy! Go, Ed Malloy! Game 7s and Paul George's internet girlfriend have something in common. Neither of them actually exist. They're fantasy. And one of them's a dude. Allegedly, I should probably say that. Indiana has a famous shrimp dish. We'll just give you crabs. Don't sleep on Lavoy Allen. Barkley actually said that.
Why?
He said Evan Turner would make them unstoppable. Give me a gun! Give it to me again! Stugotz, props to Paul George, though. He looked real sharp after Game 6. Do you think that was Armani? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was a paternity suit.
This is not a prank she's pulling on you, is it?
Indiana's football owner gets arrested with $29,000 in a briefcase and drugs in a laundry bag. You call that a scandal. We call that a Monday.
He also blocked me on Twitter.
Irsay blocked you on Twitter, too. What's the matter with you, man?
So it just keeps going on and on. But I miss the rivalries in sports. Le Batard is lame. Fair enough. You don't have to like everybody. I miss the basketball rivalries. I wish we could get back to those, which is interesting that many players are complaining about the CBA. Scott Perry was asked about the CBA, actually, not too long ago when he introduced Dennis Schroeder. We'll see how it plays out. I'm excited to see how tonight's going to play out for the Kings. Tip top, dude. When I heard that, it was unlike, and this is somebody that at this time had been listening to Jim Rome for like 15, 14 years. I heard that and I was just blown away. But yeah, the rivalries, I miss them. You see them in hockey. You saw it with the Stanley Cup final. I want them back in basketball. Even if the Kings don't have a rival yet, I want to see other rivalries in the NBA. The Kings are literally dead last in the odds to win Summer League. Tied with the Knicks at plus 10,000. Hey, can we get BJ on the line? Because I will lay down a bill on that. That's crazy. I think that's nuts. I think that's nuts. Y'all might think I'm nuts by the time Summer League's over. But yeah, bring back rivalries. I'm with you. The Chargers. So I went to school at San Diego State. So there was quote unquote Hell Week. The Chargers Raider rivalry was real. Like legit real. That was a game you didn't go to. But yeah, man, rivalries. The Indy Miami rivalry. What about New York in Miami? Back in the day, you got players being flipped upside down. It's what basketball's missing. Jerry Reynolds said it on this show, and he'd said it to me a few other times when we'd be at lunch or whatever. And he says the NBA is at its best when teams have personalities. And I kind of thought about it. I pondered on it. And I was able to start assigning personalities to teams back in the day. Like the Kings in 2002. They were family, man. They were the annoying little brother that knew they could beat Big Brother, that should beat Big Brother. The Lakers, they were bullies. You didn't like them. A lot of people didn't like them. The Jazz, you knew fundamentals. You were going to get beat. You were going to get beat even though you knew everything they were going to do each time down the court. Like, I could keep going. It was just the best. I hope it comes back. I really do hope it comes back. Is it really there in football? Football in Los Angeles has kind of ruined any of those rivalries because it's an away game for the home team in LA. Both home teams when they play. Vegas, it's an away game for the Raiders most times. Their destinations. Like, what is the best rivalry that's going right now? Is it in hockey? I think it might be in hockey. It's the Panthers and the Oilers. Do we have a better one than that? Boston Red Sox, that simmered down. Summer League, Kings, getting ready to tip off. Raiders versus everybody else in the NFL. Hey, here's what I'll say. I respect the heck out of the Raider fans, because win or lose, terrible, haven't won in weeks, Raider fans still shows up. Raider fans wearing their gear 365 days a year. Like, good or bad, and it's kind of can be said about the Kings. And by the way, I'm very disappointed in Mike Brown calling the New York fans the best and most passionate in sports. I'll take a objection on that. I'll file an objection. Kings getting ready to tip off, y'all. When
I say the Orlando Magic,
there you go.
They've been spending money, GA.
Got the audio
this
in.
offseason, Paolo Banchero, congrats to him. The All-Star, the #1 overall pick, got a contract extension. Then they went and traded for Desmond Bain, signed Tyus Jones. But the guy we're checking out today, Jace Richardson, they drafted him in the first round.
Jace Richardson.
What a sensational player he was at Michigan State.
You know, I'm always partial to the Southpaws.
Jason Richardson.
Richardson comes with great genes. He's electric offensively, can shoot it, play.
Who's going to score the first point for the
Kings?
Kings?
All and really showed up on the big stage for Sparty.
Who's going to score the first point for the Kings? Mac, best rivalry, Army versus Navy. Good point, Mac. It's a good point.
It's going to be tough.
But I don't think a lot of people pay attention to it outside of those that were in the Army or in the Navy or go to school at either institution.
He is a ball hawk.
But yes, that is a good one to watch.
To attack the basketball defensively.
Good job by you. LA football fans are present when USC is good. Yeah, yes and no. All right, here's what they have to say about the Kings.
Including Nick Clifford, a 23-year-old rookie.
Yeah, but he is polished, poised, and proven with his ability. I think this is a young man that's got a chance with the new regime coming in for Sacramento to be a part of the future.
Yeah, Doug Christie, the new head coach. Maxime Reynaud, the 7-footer. Oui.
It's something about Frenchie, right? You know, France is taking over the NBA.
You know my theory on that. Michael Jordan's favorite soup was French onion soup, and now all these French players are coming over.
All right, so your Kings starting lineup is going to be Nick Clifford.
I do like French onion soup.
It's going to be Max.
I tell you
Devin
what, too,
Carter.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention
Isaac
Devin
Jones.
Carter on the floor. Remember, he was a first-round pick the previous draft, missed
And
most of last
Isaiah
season,
Cardwell.
but looked
He's also
very
going to
good in the
start.
G League.
Oh, no,
with a
he's going to sit
shoulder
down.
injury
Let's
last
see.
year. We get to
Who's
see
the
him
fit?
on the floor in this starting lineup for the Kings as well.
And another young man.
Mason.
with great
Mace
genes.
is starting.
Anthony played
So your
in the NBA for a
backcourt
long
is
time.
Mason
I would have to say
and
that I know
Devin
Anthony
Carter.
knows Devin's a little bit better offensively. than his
Okay,
old man.
interesting.
There's
You
no
can do that
question.
in
I think
Summer
he's
League.
got-
These
got a
guys are
chance. As
smaller.
You talked about it. He did a lot of positive things.
All
in the
right.
limited time he
We've
had
done
a
our
season
job.
ago.
The
Let's
Kings are
look
on.
for a
Go
healthy
enjoy the
run
game.
here in
Thanks for being here
25-26.
today.
That's
Matt,
number 22 on
Mac,
your court,
thank you
getting
for
ready to
calling.
take the court.
Appreciate all
You
of
said
you.
it. The
We
second
are
generation
not going to
guys,
do
Jace
post
Richardson,
games
sporting that number 11
for
the
these. We're
first
not going to
time
do
for
post games
Orlando
unless
Magic
they
jerseys,
get.
the same
If
team
they
his
get to
dad
the
once
finals,
played for.
then we'll probably do a post game then.
All these young men have played
All right,
in the
enjoy the
NBA.
game.
Dad's
Go
played.
Kings.
Pretty
Thanks for
impressive
being
to
here.
follow.
Join Grant later tonight. Appreciate all of you again. Seriously, y'all are the best. Grant, 8 o'clock tonight. Join him. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts. He's going to tell you Summer League doesn't matter, but he'll have some thoughts on this one. So, all right, there you go. The Magic score 3. Kings up the court. Devin Carter with the hands in his ball, or the ball in his hands. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Kings Court Friday, which means we've got the wrestling segment and getting you all ready for the weekend. Mason Jones, my man Mace, from 3 for the Kings. First bucket. That's who I would have bet. Talk to you all tomorrow. Court is dismissed.
Order in the court.
To that uncontested triple.
Nick Clifford to